All right, everybody, welcome back. Good morning. And like I said yesterday, we are bumping along to a new position. And at this point, I feel like the position that is most interesting for the draft that we haven't discussed yet is probably linebacker. I feel like the need at linebacker is still relatively clear. We have pretty good starters for this year, but it's only for the 1 year. They're both 1 year deals, Dodson and Baker, and we're not really bringing anything to the table in terms of depth, are we? You've got John Radigan, who I don't even think is going to make the team because of his tender amount, and you've got guys like Patrick O'Connell, who I don't see it. I don't see much there now or ever. So we are going to be looking for some new stuff at the linebacker position, and I would be very surprised if we made it out of this draft without investing at least one pick in the spot. And the strategy employed this offseason was pretty clear what's going on here, right? It's pretty clear that the Seahawks are trying to just survive at the linebacker position for now so they can draft their guy and get somebody cheap and young for the next several years rather than investing a multi-year deal in somebody now. So there's definitely going to be some linebacker stuff in this draft for us. I think that and interior offensive line are the two positions where clearly something needs to be done. And the linebacker crew it's like middle heavy. There's a lot of stuff on day 2 that I think is going to be good, but there's really nothing to speak of on day 1. It's not one of those draft classes where you've got linebackers that are going to go in the first round. In fact, I doubt any linebackers go in the first round. So, not a bad draft class to take your swings at. So, let's get into it. Let's start with the best ones. And this first guy here, I think, has he's separated himself as the best linebacker in this crop. He's not necessarily the one I want the most. I do think he's the best linebacker in this class, however, although it's close. And there's definitely going to be some good debate here. Edgerrin Cooper of the Texas A&M Aggies, 22 years old. He is my number one at the position in this draft. He is a little bit of a 1 year wonder. He was not nearly this good in previous years, not nearly this interesting. He was not even on my radar until about mid-season last year. So there's some concerns there of him maybe being a one-hit wonder. But what he brought to the table in 2023 was awesome and cannot be ignored here. 6'2", 230 pounds, so the size is fine. 34-inch arms. He's got the longest arms of any linebacker I've seen in this draft, which helps a lot with tackling. 9 3/4 inch hands. Nice big hands. His testing numbers were really good. His 40-yard dash was remarkable, 4.51. His 10-yard split was great, 1.54. His vertical and broad jump were both not so great, admittedly. So a little bit of a lack of explosiveness in comparison, but still not terrible or anything. I've seen better, but I've also certainly seen worse. Big boards, basically every big board has him at some point in the second round right now. I couldn't find any major ones that had him in the first, and the database has him in the second. So the reviews are in. Edgerrin Cooper is probably going to be a second round pick, and I think that's cool. And 2023, like I said, was his big breakout year. 84 tackles, which doesn't sound like that many, but 17 of them were tackles for loss. He had 8 sacks and 2 passes defensed and 2 forced fumbles. So he contributed in many different ways that year. PFF grade of almost 91. The previous year, he flashed some of the stuff because he had 8 tackles for loss on just 61 tackles, but it wasn't nearly as impressive of a year. And 1 pick, 5 passes defense, 1 forced fumble, 66.1 PFF grade. So 2023, he really spread his wings here and had an awesome season for the Aggies and has elevated himself to the point where I do think he is the best linebacker in this class. And the big improvement he made in 2023 was with his reaction time, reaction speed, to where he sees something and then he reacts on that something. He sees the opportunity to knife into the backfield to get to the running back, he goes. And that reaction time is what led to him making so many plays in the backfield in 2023. Excuse me. So really on point there, really good stuff there. He's speedy, he's quick. You can see it in his testing scores. You can also see it when he's on the field. He's really good at going all covering a lot of ground quickly. He hits with a lot of force. He's somebody who hits very squarely and somebody who is able to generate a lot of stops with just the force of his blows. He's a very productive blitzer, 8 sacks last year. He uses his quickness and his speed to be a very effective blitzer. He's got long arms, which once he cleans up a little bit of technique stuff, will keep his missed tackle rate low. When you have long arms like that, it's easier to wrap up, easier to not miss tackles. So once he gets a couple things sewed up, Edgerrin Cooper will be a great linebacker in terms of not missing tackles. He maneuvers through traffic very well. He's somebody who can really get through the wash to find the ball carrier. And there's some good coverage stuff here as well. He's more than capable of zone drops and screens. So, in a broad sense, he's kind of the full package here, right? He's good against the run, good against the pass, good in coverage, good in on the blitz. Theoretically, he brings a lot of different things to the table that you want. I don't know about his man coverage abilities, but that's not going to be super important here because we are mostly going to be zone, I think, under Mike McDonald. So that stuff's all great. His issues right now, he engages with a high pad level, which costs him in the leverage game, and it's obviously not as big a deal for him as it would be for a lineman. But when he tries to engage physically with, say, a blocker, he tends to be the high man, and the high man loses. You want to be the low man when you're making contact with a player. So he needs to sink down a little bit and be able to make impact as the low man. His emergence as a top flight prospect is recent. He was not really on people's radar, to my knowledge, until last year. So realistically, you're looking at 1 year of good production with him, and that's going to be concerning to some people, I think, because some of these guys have been around for a while now. Some of the more cerebral aspects of the game lack a bit. I feel like he does make some bad reads. I do feel like sometimes his instincts aren't there the way they should be. Like, there are players out there who have phenomenal instincts about where the ball's going to go before it goes there, and they're able to act before the play even happens. Edgerrin Cooper, I think, is lacking a little bit in that area, and his tackling technique needs to improve. I think it will. I think that's totally fixable. But he does a little bit of lunging. He does a little bit of ankle diving. When he gets into the open field, it feels like even though he should be able to wrap up, he gets put in bad situations because he doesn't do like the chop steps the way that you would like when you're coming up on a tackle opportunity. He tends to over pursue a little bit. He gets caught out of position. So there's some stuff to address there, but it all feels fixable to me. Everything that's wrong with Edgerrin Cooper feels fixable. He needs to learn how to sink his hips, needs to become a better tackler, needs to get better instincts. The instinct thing, arguably, some people would say you either have that or you don't have it, but I think he'll be okay. So I think he's the best all-around linebacker prospect in this draft. He's got pretty much everything you could want in an off-ball linebacker. I think pretty much everything that isn't great with him right now is fixable. That doesn't mean all those things are going to be fixed. So I can't put him in the first round. I don't think anybody's really trying to argue Edge Cooper is a first-round pick anyway. But I would definitely take Edge Cooper in the second round. I don't think he's far away from first-round value. This is a true all-around prospect. Somebody that any coach should be excited to get their hand on to try to get to the maximum potential. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. More linebackers coming later today.